is card number 148 from the 1953 Bowman Color set. It's Billy Goodman of those Boston Red Sox, and he's definitely not in New York City. Looks like this is a spring training photograph, one of the few spring training photographs from this set. But he's in his home whites, and he looks like he's really intensely waiting for that ground ball to get to him. Maybe you should rush the ball, Billy. On the back of the card, he's listed as an infield and outfield player, originally from North Carolina. Billy is the type of player who will play anywhere his manager wants, do a good job, and hit with authority. That's a pretty good first line. So if it's card number 148 from that Bowman Color set, it must be session number 148 of Card Room Live. No, it's not a show. It is a hangout, however, for fellow vintage collectors, whether we have guests or not. And we do have two guests that are patiently waiting for me to get through all of this. Most of the time we waste time looking at and talking about old cardboard, and through it all, we always try to make it time well wasted. And dare I say, we've done just that for the past 4 years. So if you're here with us live, welcome to all of you. Welcome to my fellow YouTubers, to the commenters, to the folks from all over social media land, all the collectors. If you're new, don't be afraid to say hello. You're among cardboard friends. This is the live stream where everybody knows your name. It may take us a few tries, but stick with us. We'll learn yours soon enough. On the other hand, you might be listening to this later. You may be doing one or more of the following: going to or coming home from work, sorting cards, looking at eBay, rolling out meatballs, walking the dog, sitting on the john, putting the kids to bed. Maybe you're battling raccoons in the backyard. Maybe you're wondering, like my buddy Doug, DK Cardboard, if you're just hanging onto those baseball cards as a distraction to what would otherwise be an existential crisis about the human condition. Aren't we all doing that? You might be wondering if Eddie Wakis will come up in conversation. You might be wondering what other kind of Mike foolery we're going to get into. Whatever you are doing as you listen to this later, I hope you get something out of it. And if you're here with us live and you stick with us, I hope you get something out of it too. If you want to get in touch or have ideas for future sessions, you can always email me at bowman53channel@gmail.com. On Instagram, Bowman53_Alex, on X1953 Bowman Color, on Blue Sky, Bowman53, and of course, all that information can be found in the description below. This session of Card Room Live is brought to you by Red Heart Dog Food. Stan the Man says you should feed your dog Red Heart. It's the big league of dog food after all. It's available in beef, liver, and fish flavors. And as our friend Mookie likes to say, choosy dogs choose Red Heart, and they choose Card Room Live. And hey, you might get a great couple of baseball cards along with your Red Heart dog food. So good evening to everybody. Happy November. Baseball is over. The off season is here. Congratulations to those Los Angeles Dodgers and, hey, the Toronto Blue Jays, who gave them a run for their money. But it's time for us to put baseball on ice. Jacob is here. The Dog Ate My Card Collector is here. The Wrench Holder at Reindeer Studios is here. Shout out to Reindeer Studios. Jay Hawker, Vintage Cards Mike is here. Peter B. I appreciate that comment, and I want to just briefly say I appreciate everybody that took the time to watch that video. I've gotten some great responses from it, and honestly, that's what makes doing those videos worthwhile. So I appreciate all of the comments and likes. It means a lot, guys. Mike, the Sports History Collector, is here. Maxa Jackson is here. Eddie's Cardboard Chaos is here. The Spartan Card Collector is here. Mike Good is here. Hey, we can always hang out with 54 Bowmans. There's no 53 prejudice in this room. Godlike Collectibles is here. Good to see you. Larry is here. Ruben is here. Melissa is here. Mark is here. Orlando, A Collector's Dream, is here. Peacemaker Cards. Stephen with the PH. Ross loves cards. That vintage cardboard smell. Reese Indy Card Ranger. Mark Hoyle. Litzy Sports Cards. And Brad's Vintage Collectibles. And the list goes on. Lonely Basement Baseball Cards. And I don't want to miss anybody. Mookie Chilson, 99 Days Until Pitchers and Catchers Report. Drew Clean Cheap Shots is here. A lot of great folks are here, including Mr. B. Roth 6. Let's get started. We got a couple guys waiting in the wings. I reached out to this gentleman. I can't remember when I reached out to him. Maybe it was a month ago or more, and we've been talking, and I'm glad to have him here. His name is Jimmy, and he runs Beauty of a Game. Jimmy, how are you tonight?
Hey, pretty good, Alex. How about you?
I'm doing great. And Jimmy and I were talking about baseball cards and baseball in general and sports art. And Jimmy runs a fantastic channel on a number of social media networks
Mhm.
called Beauty of the Game, which we're going to talk about tonight. But I also, while I was talking to Jimmy, I was like, Jimmy, who should we have on with us? Who's somebody that you could reach out to that you know that would be a great person to talk to? And Jimmy took care of this part and reached out to this gentleman, and I'm going to bring him in now. It's the guy who cuts cardboard. It's Tim Carroll. Tim, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, recovering from that roller coaster ride of a baseball game last night.
Yeah, I think we all are. Absolutely. Well, Jimmy and Tim, thank you both for being here. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
For sure. And I'm going to definitely keep my eye on the chat as best I can. I've got some questions for you. I'm sure some folks in the chat will have questions for you. Tim, I'm gonna definitely ask you about your artwork, but Jimmy, I want to ask you about where this idea started from, because you've been doing Beauty of the Game now for quite a while. Can you take us back to what was the origin of that idea, and like what made you want to start what you're doing, and tell us a little bit about what Beauty in the Game is?
Yeah. Well, the phrase comes from my grandfather, who was he loved to see well-pitched games, and he would always say, you know, that pitcher threw a beauty of a game. And so it just kind of one of those phrases that stuck with me. And I've always worked as a designer or art director for advertising agencies or design studios. And about 15 years ago, I was working for an agency here in Greenville, South Carolina. And one of my accounts was the local minor league baseball team, the Greenville Drive.
Oh, wow.
And so I did a lot of work for them. And I would, as part of that research into doing stuff, I would kind of keep my nose to the ground of what was going on in the world of sports, design and advertising and things like that. And so when I left the agency, it was something that I kept doing, was just kind of keeping tabs on people. And I said, you know, why don't, that was when, you know, social media was just kind of, being an older gentleman, I was kind of new to social media. And I said, you know, this is a way that I can do social media and learn about it, but also get something from it. So I started concentrating on like sports art, sports artists, and started following people and talking about people and promoting people on social media platforms, primarily Twitter and Instagram. And this past January, I started a Substack where I'm able to write a little longer articles to just go more than 180 characters or whatnot. But
Sure.
That's really where it all started, was just that love of the aesthetics of athletics, and just, you know, anything art related that has to do with sports, and just, you know, trying to get these folks some attention and talk about it and let other people experience it.
Right. Trying to think, how should I go from here? How about we make Tim uncomfortable? Jimmy, can you tell me, while Tim is in the room, like what initially like caught your attention about Tim's work, and like how did you find him, all that sort of thing?
I don't remember the very first piece that I saw of Tim's, but I do remember that my jaw dropped, because what I love about Tim's work is baseball cards aren't only the subject, they're also the medium that he uses.
Right.
You know, he doesn't use oil paints, he doesn't use pastels. He uses baseball cards to make other baseball cards. And so that really just the inventiveness of that just really just floored me. And he's done so many pieces that are just you know, you see them and you think, how can somebody do that?
Right.
And just the variety that he does. You know, he doesn't stick to one era of cards. He kind of covers a lot of different eras,
Sure.
and just the craftsmanship and the beauty in these pieces are just amazing.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jim.
Let's stop pretending that Tim's not in the room. Tim, I'm sure you've been asked this question a million times. So here's one more. How did this happen for you? How did you kind of find this and lean into it?
And no, it literally came like out of the blue. Back in 2009, my wife was finishing a doctorate up, and she was teaching at a science convention down in New Orleans. And so I decided that since, I had a few days off from work around the same time, that I was going to go ahead and just kind of tag along with her. And we had a day together just to roam the French Quarter and go and check out all these different kinds of, just weird places, different kinds of art galleries that had, whether it was body paintings or, voodoo art or just the most random stuff. But, it kind of got the wheels turning. And then we were on our way back to the hotel whenever a thunderstorm came about. And I picked up a magazine, and it was talking about the 100th anniversary of the T206 Wagner.
Okay.
And I looked over at my wife, and I pointed at that article, and I said, wouldn't it be cool if I could trade all those common cards in my closet for a Wagner? And she said, well, you should see if you could, you can do that. I said, no, you don't understand. It's not a quantity thing. This is a $1 million baseball card. So I said, but I just started thinking from there on, why isn't there any kind of art? Since we've seen all this art, why isn't there any kind of art devoted to an art piece of a Honus Wagner or something like that? So I got home and I started pulling out all those commons, and I started seeing just some crude colors coming together. And I thought, this kind of looks like that. This kind of looks like this shade, and started laying them out with no intention of cutting them. But as I was just going to overlap them and see if I couldn't kind of make a rough image of it. But once I realized that if I have to cut this and I have to cut that, well, once you make one cut on a card, you kind of ruin it. So you go ahead and, just might as well just go ahead and cut the rest out. And then I thought, well, there are literally millions of these cards. So surely no one will be upset if I destroy, 500-600 of them. And it turned out to be 996 cards. And I created a crude Honus Wagner, and I put it online and said, hey, I traded my common cards for a Wagner. And I thought people were just going to laugh, but no, it was anything but that. People were asking me to do this player and this player.
Wow.
I was like, this is nuts.
And how long ago was that now?
That was in 2009.
Wow.
2009. So I started making, I thought, well, if they like this one, I'll do the 52 Topps Mantle, or I'll do the 89 Upper Deck Griffey. And, I just started making, and then the more that people started, like commenting and sending me, emails about it, I thought I need to spend more time on the actual underdrawing, like really take time with this instead of trying to pump something out in 30-40 hours. I need to really spend some time and make it look as good as I can.
Sure.
And that's kind of like becoming an obsession now. Just spend as much time with them as I can, get them as close to perfect as I can.
Well, let's take a look at some of them. I'm sure a lot of people are itching to see stuff. And Jimmy sent a handful of them along. And Jimmy, I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to mention as I bring these up, but I'll just kind of bring this up here so everybody can see. So kind of an essential one to start with. Tim, is there anything you can say about how you approach it? Does it change from card to card? I mean, obviously there's certain things that you have to add. But are you holding yourself to a certain era of cards or year of cards, or is it just whatever you happen to have handy?
I do have a rough guideline. One thing I don't want to do, I mean, even though there are literally millions of each and every copy of card out there, whether it be Nolan Ryan or Brian Clutterbuck, it's there's so many of each one of them from the same set. But I know as time goes on, there's going to be someone out there that would rather have the Hall of Famers or the fan favorites like a Don Mattingly or a Bo Jackson. And so I tend to not cut those. I try to cut the ones that would get shoved into a closet and buried or thrown away. Yeah. So I stick to those. I don't cut the Hall of Famers. I don't cut the fan favorites or the ones that I deem as fan favorites. and then from there on, I try not to cut anything vintage, but every now and then if I come across some, some from the late 70s that are in really rough condition that I can use the backs of, I'll go ahead and I'll take a shot at those. But
Right.
I just don't want to use anything that could be used as fillers, set fillers, and take away from the hobby. That's not the point of this at all.
Right. Right. Kind of along the lines of that, can you think of any interactions that you've had with people, whether they were at like card shows or other events, that sort of stand out to you in terms of like people's reactions to what you're doing?
Nothing negative as far as
Okay,
like
good.
cutting of the cards. That's that actually has surprised me that I've been doing it now for 16 years and I've not really had any negative interactions with anyone as far as, hey, you're cutting something that someone wants. That's not happened. But there's been so many great interactions and the friends that I've met throughout this whole entire journey. It's been that's the biggest thing, is the amount of people like Jimmy, like yourself, people that I'm meeting along the way. And I've been friends with people for a long time now and talk, and it's not just, with cards anymore. We talk family, we talk things like that. So
Right.
that part's been awesome.
Right. That's so great. That's great to hear. Well, I have to ask about this card. I saw this card was in the setup, and I'm just gonna briefly take the screen for a second. So here it is, the actual one. So I was definitely excited to see this, but I know that this one is particularly special because this one is in Cooperstown, right, Tim?
That's correct.
Yes. Can you share the story behind how that happened?
Sure. So in 2018, the fall of 2018, Hurricane Florence was coming across the East Coast, and it stalled just over the South Carolina, North Carolina border and dumped a ton of rain for about 3 to 4 days. And the flooding was really bad. I had already sent my family over to Memphis to stay with my mother-in-law to ride the storm out. And I stayed back at home just to kind of take care of things here. And while I was here, instead of working, 8 to 10 hour days and then spending time with the family in the evenings, I was working 14, 16, 17 hour days because I had nothing to do. So I thought, let me just work on this Koufax. So I threw it together, got it done in just basically a little over a week, just from working so many hours on it every single day. And in January of 2019, just a few months later, I get an email, and the lady told me who she was, and she was working on putting together a wall, an art wall for the upcoming Shoebox Treasures exhibit that was going to be opening at the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And she said that some of my work had caught their eye and was wondering if I would be willing to donate a piece. And I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was reading it and checking. I'm like, is this real? This can't be real. What? I told her that most of my work was commission based, but I had this Koufax and I had this, and she was like, that Koufax would be perfect. So
Right.
I said, yes, absolutely. So I sent that off to them, and now it hangs right in the center of that Shoebox Treasures art wall, and it's surrounded by other awesome artists that you can find online. And man, it's just been something.
Fantastic. We got a big Mookie Wilson fan who was so excited to see that this has been included. Is there a story behind this one, or?
Yeah, no. So one, I love the aesthetics of the card itself. It really lent itself well to what I do. I was doing a local event here to raise funds here in Conway, and there was a couple that come walking up to me, and they were an older couple, and they pulled me off to the side and told me that their son was a big '86 Mets fan, and I think he was like 10 at the time, and he loved Mookie Wilson, and they wanted to do a piece for their son. They said, our son is the one that told us about you. and we want to do a piece of Mookie and surprise him. And we talked it over, and they had decided that they were going to surprise him and drive down. They had driven already like 3 or 4 hours just to come to that event, meet me in person in Conway, which was nuts enough. But they wanted to surprise him on a Saturday in the future when it was done, and bring him to the house and to come into my, at the time, a garage studio, and look around and then surprise him with his very own piece that would be done. And we, at first, we're going to do the 86 Mookie, but I said, I really love this 87 one just because of the way it looks. And they were on board with that and went with that piece. But they showed up, and when they showed up at the house on that Saturday, they got out, and the dad told me, said, we did not tell him where we were going this whole trip. We were just told him that we were going on a ride. And we got here to your house, and they said your garage door was up and he could see inside. And he said, "Oh, I know where we're at now. I know where we're at now." And so they got in, and he looked around. And I mean, we stood there and talked for about 30, 45 minutes. And I was showing them my process and showing them just different things on the wall. And they were just taking it all in. And it got to the time, and they were like, "Well, it's about time to go." And he was thanking me for giving him my time, and they was like, well, there's one more thing. And I said, "Yeah, one more thing." And I pulled it out and showed them, and I mean, there was silence for probably about, I would say, 30 seconds. It seemed like 3 minutes, but it was probably about 30 seconds, and then it was tears. And it was pretty special. Just knowing that the effort that his parents had put into that, going all the way back to 86, this childhood, tying it all together, me being able to just be a part of something that, a story that they were going to tell in their family for a long time. And it's just so special, so special.
Right. Incredible. I mean, that makes the artwork that much more special, I think. Right. Yep. Jimmy, question for you. Has there been anything about starting Beauty of a Game that has surprised you over the years, or maybe something that you learned about that you didn't anticipate when it began?
Really the sense of community. What Tim said about kind of making friends, just sharing stuff online, social media, and you get to know people, excuse me. And just the conversations that you have, even about, like Tim said, about families and what's going on, and just kind of building that rapport with people. And, you nailed it. It's the nostalgia, it's the memories, and sports and art both are able to evoke these memories and bring these memories back in a way that other things can't. And so for me, when you put sports and art together, the people that really seem to respond to the stuff that I do are the people that kind of appreciate that on a kind of a different level, and really kind of, it's seeing something that can bring back that memory. It's kind of, seeing it, whether it be a work of art or whatnot, that just brings that memory back and takes them back to seeing the 86 Mets or what have you. And really just, they can go back to their childhood or to a happier time in their life,
Right. Tim, we have a question from a devoted fan. His name is Craig. What I'd love to know from Tim is how and if his mental and or technical approach has changed to his work over the last decade, as in, might he treat his color and value decisions differently now?
Okay, so he talks over my head when it comes to the all of the lingo, the jargon. That's key. He's got it down. So I'm going to try to explain my redneck process because I am not the classically trained artist that Greg is. But so mainly just I think knowing the cards and going into the cards and just trying to replicate the cards themselves already are like gorgeous. The images that are usually chosen, whether it's by the client. I mean, sometimes people just want a certain card just because it either represents a moment in their life or because it is the best rookie card of somebody else. When you're talking about certain, whether it's the Art Deco, Diamond Stars, or those 53 tops or 56 tops, or even the 53 Bowman color like you love. I mean, I want to do that Stan Musial and the Warren Spahn out of that. But yeah, so the cards themselves are already beautiful. They look great. They have colors that pop. They're awesome. What I try to do is kind of go and just reproduce that and try not to deviate too much from what's going on already. And that just comes with knowing the cards that I'm actually cutting.
Right.
And going through, and it's not just knowing the certain set, it's knowing the cards within the set. I did a rose postcard, a Walter Johnson piece.
Yes, which was beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. That green in the background, it took me going out and buying a roughly 250 Donnie Moore 87 tops cards and cutting those green grass, that specific grass out of it. And Dave Berg from the same set to create those greens. So it came from knowing which cards within certain sets, not just the sets themselves. And that's just from repetition, and looking over and over again. I'm not sure if I hit his question right, especially not in the terminology. Sorry.
He'll have to accept that. Well, I think you did.
But you bring up a really good point, Tim. Like, you can't just go and grab, you can't mix colors like you can with paint. You can't, go and get a different shade. You've got to find that color on a different card.
Right. Which is a challenge in itself sometimes because of the quality of the printing for some of these sets. I mean, you can go into the 87 through 90 Donruss. You can look at the backs of those, and sometimes I use those backs, but there may be a rainbow
color variation
between there's 7 or 8 different variations of them. And so I'll have to go through a whole 5,000 count box and stack them by the actual variations. It's a headache.
Right. Another question from folks in the chat. This one's from my friend Mark's Dodgers Cards. He asks, what inspires your cards? Do you have people commissioning specific cards, or do you just make ones that you like and put them on the market?
It's mainly both. Commissions are what keeps me doing this. And I quit teaching in 2016 because the wait list was over a year long, and I was trying to balance the home life and work and doing this balance, and something had to give. So I stepped away from teaching to try this full time to see what would happen if I gave myself an extra 10 months out of the year to devote to it. And it's been wonderful. But by doing that, I had to basically take at the time whatever commissions come along, as many as I could get. And that I've backed off of that now to kind of picking and choosing which commissions I take, or kind of talking and really working it out with the client to where it's something that is beneficial to both of us. But there are certain cards that for whatever reason don't get commissioned that I love, that I want to do, especially on the non-sport side, the Garbage Pail Kids, things from my childhood, those kind of things. It's fun. So I love doing that kind of stuff. And so it's a little bit of both. Right.
Cool. Jimmy, here's a question for you. So you briefly mentioned your Substack, and what could you give us a sense of what you're doing on there? You mentioned that it gives you a chance to expand a little bit about some of the thoughts you've got. But can you give us a sense of some of the write-ups that you've done? Like what your focus on is there?
Sure.
Maybe some of your more favorite pieces that you've done there.
Yeah, kind of a tagline that I've been using on that is the aesthetics of athletics. So that really gives me kind of a range to cover a broad spectrum of stuff. The bread and butter, I think, is going to be the artist spotlights. I've done a few artists. I have some more lined up. But I'm also able to talk about, World Series programs. I'm also talking about Norman Rockwell, when he did the sports pieces that he did, I'm able to talk about anything that strikes my fancy, to be honest with you. There was a Sabre presentation a while back on baseball card art, so I did a little recap of that.
Right.
Looking at the page there, Picking Strawberries is an article I did on when I used to grab Darryl Strawberry rookie cards out of 84 Tops. So there's a little bit of nostalgia, but also talking about vintage sports art. Sports cartoonist from the 40s, 50s, and 60s is something that's really kind of cool to me. So it gives me leverage to really talk about a lot of different things. And I'm going to pour one out to my homies over at UniWatch. I don't know how many people are fans of that site. But that was a big proponent of me kind of getting into writing more than just social media. They're kind of not going to be doing the site anymore. So it's kind of, I didn't know that at the time, but that's going to, my Substack is going to give me an opportunity to write those articles and keep doing those things that I did over there periodically.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Really interesting. So I put the link in there for folks to check out. Let's see. Getting back into more questions here. Tim, one of the things I thought was interesting I learned on your website is that once you've completed a card once, you do not like take on a second commission of that same card. Once it's done, it's done.
Right.
What did you have that rule for yourself from the get-go, or like how did that come about?
All right, so I started out I've actually only recreated 3 pieces, and that's the first 3 that I made, which was the Wagner, the Mantle, and the Griffey. And I spit those out so fast from the beginning without actually giving like a lot of work into the underdrawing that I felt I didn't. I mean, those are 3 huge hobby cards. I mean, 3 of the probably on the Mount Rushmore of iconic cards. So I felt I didn't do those justice, and I still own those original 3, what I call kind of like prototypes, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, it's like something that I was kind of figuring it out and working my way through. So I went back and I've actually reworked those 3, and I still own my original 3 of those, and I have no intention of ever parting with those.
Okay.
But from there on out, everything has been completely one and done for a couple of reasons. One, I want to give whoever is actually spending their hard-earned money on something from me, I want it to be something that is unique, and not just unique in general, but unique as to itself, and that no one else has.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part of that comes from the time that I spend working on one of these. It averages somewhere between like 90 to 140 hours is the range for most of them. Some a little less, but some way more. So after spending that much time looking at a specific card, I kind of don't want to look at it anymore.
Sure. Yeah. Makes sense.
I'm like, I'm done. Let's move on to something else. I've got too much to do and not enough life to do it in.
Yeah. Right. Right. No, I mean, it's a great, I like it because for all the reasons you mentioned, it's a great way to make sure that whatever you've just made is that much more special for whoever commissioned it. Here are some more questions for you, Tim, from Maxa Jackson. What's the card that you've cut up the most?
It would have to be something from the 87 Tops. Probably something like that Donnie Moore that I went and bought in bulk just to cut that. The 1989 Tops. I believe it's like a record breaker or something. It's an Oral Hershiser card with blue in the background. I believe it's at the front of the set. I've probably cut, I would say, 600 of those, and I still have probably 1,500 more if I want to cut. Yeah.
Wow.
Devon White always seems to find his way into every piece too. So I don't know why.
You have a really unique relationship with cards that I don't think anybody else has. Right?
Right.
I definitely see commons a different way when I'm looking at them. I mean, I can hold up a card and say, this is the perfect common. I love this. And just a random guy, but it's because I can actually cut it up like it's a steak, and all you have left is just that little T-bone at the end.
What set has the most unique color?
Set with the most unique. I mean, any of the upper deck sets, so 89, 90 upper deck, those two are pretty good. 91, a little bit of the 91 upper deck, but you can start going into, 87 tops. I keep going back to that set because there's so much there. I mean, even the checklist themselves work for wood grain. And again, it's not going to work for every card, but it works for reproducing another 87 tops card, which I've done, I think, on 3 or 4 different times now with different cards from that set.
Yeah.
And Tim, before we started, you mentioned that you started collecting 87 tops. That was like your first set, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
kind of like comes full circle.
So now you're butchering that.
Luckily, there were so many made.
We're not in any danger.
Right. And do you find yourself buying cards specifically because it's something unique that you may need later in your artwork?
So, I mean, I've got some really good friends in the hobby that, at first it was buying cards, or having people send me some, finding a local card shop that went out of business and being able to raid that guy's stash. But I have some friends in the hobby that, send me bulk as I need. I'm well taken care of on that. The only problem with that is that I have to get rid of some to, stuff that I can't even cut anymore because I have too much of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm good on commons.
All right. Jimmy, question for you. And I don't mean to put you on the spot here. This may be a tricky question, but where do you see the relationship? Because we've been talking about obviously there's a memorabilia element to this, there's some nostalgia to it, but there's also the artistic element, the aesthetics of it. Where do you see the relationship between cards, art, and storytelling? How is that evolving in social media? Where do you see that heading? Is there something that you wish would happen more, or do you have any plans? I don't know if you're ready to share any plans. Where do you see things heading?
As far as where it's heading and plans, I think it was John Lennon said, if you make the way to make God laugh is to make a plan.
Okay.
So, I don't know that the thing that I would like to have happen, is I would love for my Substack or Beauty of a Game to become a place where people can kind of come and commiserate over sports art and geek out over these things and talk about these things. I wrote an article on my Substack. I think it was at the end of the Sabre recap. When I was in college, the art building, it housed fine arts, design, photography, sculpture, art education. So we as art majors, we had 24-hour access, and there was just always something going on in that art building. And you would have designers come in and talk to the photographers, and the photographers would come in and talk to, the fine artists. And it was kind of just this big mishmash of everybody just kind of working together. And there was something really fun and really cool about that. And I think, like I mentioned, I think community, sports and art both are able to bring people together in ways that other things don't always. So I would love for that to be something that evolves into this place where people can come and comment and talk about things and say, hey, send me an email, say, hey, I just found this artist, that's doing this cool work. Check them out, and give me tips and give me something to talk about, and me go and, search them out. Because really, I use the term sports artist because I have to quantify what I'm doing, but these folks are artists. There's no quantifier there. They are artists. They just choose to work in sports as their subject matter.
Right.
So I don't want that to be something that's derogatory. It's just I use it because I want to make sure that people know that that's my focus, is sports art.
Right.
But there's enough sports fans out there that I think geek out over this stuff. And, if you can lead them to it, I think, people really can kind of get into it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it makes sense to do it that way. Just, we deal with this on social media in different ways. You're trying to attract the audience that you're
Mhm.
hoping is out there. And the way to do that is to give them something to aim for. And, there's a lot of people that are interested in sports and maybe don't even know necessarily about the art,
Yeah.
but can discover it,
Yeah.
through what you're doing.
I mean, cards themselves are pieces of art. Cards
Right.
themselves tell stories. And so I think it's just kind of a natural extension of that. And there are some people out there online that kind of work in one particular niche or another, whether it be logos or uniforms or whatever. But there is something, we talk, how many stories have you heard of people talking about going to their first baseball game and seeing, the green of the grass? It's a
Sure.
very visual aesthetic that goes with the game and brings back those memories. So for me, it's just, my love of the game started with cards, but I think it's evolved to be more than just cards and encompass more of the artistic aspect of it.
Right. Right. Another question from this Craig guy. Tim, as a fellow freelancer, do you ever miss the security of having a full-time gig?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a different feeling having to go out and chase the money instead of, I left a salary position that was safe, stable, had the state health insurance, everything was taken care of and covered. Now, fortunately, my wife, she's in education, so she's was able to, say, hey, it's going to be okay. Go and get this done. She's been nothing short of just the best when it comes to every bit of this. But yeah, it was very scary in fall of 2016 because there's a lot of things that you have to bank on. As Greg knows, you have to hope that as you're doing this work that everything is okay on the client's end and that nothing happens catastrophically to them that would force them to not be able to come up with a payment on time or something like that. Fortunately, haven't had any things like that happen, but you hope that nothing like that happens. So yeah, from that standpoint, just that having that security, it's definitely something that always is in the back of your head. And that's one reason why I can't thank the people that have commissioned me or have bought something that was already created or just shared my work to others that have leading them to buy something, because every single one of those things allows me to do this and not go back to the classroom or not fall.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, here's a comment from a fellow artist. I hope you guys know Reindeer Studios. Gem of a human being and a great artist in and of himself. Wives in education who support their artist bomb husbands are the best.
Hey, amen. Amen.
Okay, guys, we got about 15 minutes left. I'm sure we'll have some parting thoughts and maybe some extra questions from folks in the chat. But I asked these guys real quick right before we started to pull some baseball cards because, believe it or not, both these guys don't just talk about baseball cards; they actually have baseball cards. Jim, what do you have handy that you can share with us?
Well, I went and found this, which is a 1961 post, Wilmer Vinegar Bend Mizell. And this is not the card, but this is a representation of the card. When I was in grad school in Richmond, Virginia. And I was a poor grad student, and I had a weekend where I didn't have a whole lot of stuff, and there was a big baseball card convention in town. And I said, I'm going to go and just get away from my studies for a few hours and go to this card show. And I didn't realize that it cost $10 to get into the show. So there was half of my $20 budget getting in the door. And I was walking around, and I had not collected cards in a while. I think I was 26 or 27 at the time. And I saw a guy that had a box of, it was a 25-cent box. And I just started digging through it. And I found a Duke Snyder. And it was the same set, but it was a Duke Snyder. It looked like it was cut with a butter knife. Um, I mean, it was just atrocious, but it was a quarter, it was Duke Snyder, from the 60s, and it was a quarter. And that's when I really kind of fell in love with what I like to call well-loved cards. And I think I went away from that table spending just about the rest of my $10 budget, and just some great old cards that were beat up, but man, you could tell that they had been well loved, and that the kids that had those cards really enjoyed those cards.
Right, right. All right, Tim, anything handy?
Yeah, so I started collecting in '87, and I've gone through the whole thing of trying to put together sets and going through and putting together team sets and collecting certain players and trying to do this and that and all, and it just seemed like I never was satisfied, and I kept doing away with the collection and starting something different, and I just felt like I was spinning my wheels. But I would say it was around 2019. I found out that Harrison Ford was going to be in Allen and Ginter. And I had a couple of the celebrity Allen and Ginter autograph cards from 2006 and up, just certain ones that I had seen, and I hadn't really dug deep into the checklist, but I knew I had to go and chase down the Harrison Ford, which is right here. Yeah, so I chased that one down and was able to land it, and that one came actually a little bit later. But as I was going through and looking at the checklist that was in these frame mini autographs over the years, I just fell in love with it. I was like, I need to get this one. I need to get Stan Lee. I need to get Axl Rose. I need to get all of these, Mike Tyson. All of these people. And I finally landed the Sylvester Stallone.
Oh man.
And that was, once I got that one, I was like, okay, now I can make a run at all of them. So I now own all 726 checklisted framed mini autographs from 2006 to present. That's
amazing.
It's my, and I can't wait for this upcoming release in 2025. It comes out in, I believe sometime at the end of this month, and yeah, oh man, I love it. I'm a pop, like a pop culture guy. I love all of just the different randomness. I can't get enough of it.
Right. I love that it started with Harrison Ford and Stallone. It's great. Fantastic. Jimmy, do you have a binder?
Yes, I do.
Thought so.
Yeah, this is my birth year set. I was born in 1972. And so when I was a senior in high school, I had a guy. When I was in high school, I would pose as a baseball card dealer at local card shows, just to make a little spending money. It was better than working at McDonald's. And I had a guy that came up and he was selling some cards, and I bought some from him. And one of them was a 1972 Dave Kingman. And my uncle, who also kind of he helped me out, he was sitting there and he said, that's a 1972. That's the year you were born. You should do that set. And so I just slowly started putting that set together, and finished it about 10 years ago. And that's kind of my pride and joy, my birth year set. It was a monster, as anyone who's put it together knows. And that's the one set that I try to be a little condition sensitive to that one.
Sure.
But other than that 72 set, man, I'll take them in any condition.
Right. Another question from Max. Tim, what is the card that you are hoping someone will commission the most? What's like your most coveted project?
I don't know that there's any. I'm trying to think. Like most of the big cards have now been done. You know what? I would love for them to pick out like a T206. What is it like? And if I pronounce this wrong, mute me or something. Is it Harry Petty? Pattee. It's the horizontal card with all of the different colors in the background.
Oh,
Oh,
Some of the best looking cards are commons, and
yes, I agree.
and which I'm not sure that one's a common. I think that one is actually, you know, well known and loved just because of the actual colors of the card. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. I also don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm sure somebody in the chat will correct us. Here it is. Oops, hold on one second.
If not that, maybe something like a 33 Gaudy Lefty Grove.
Okay, yeah, I can see that in my
beautiful
head.
card.
Yeah. Here it is.
Yes,
oh,
it's just beautiful.
So somebody make Tim's day and commission this, right?
It is beautiful.
that's going to be a lot of Donnie Moores.
Yeah, I see a lot more Dave Bergs coming on that.
All right, guys. We're just about out of time. I'm curious. Any last thoughts from you guys about you know, the world of, you know, like the collision that we've been talking about, the collision between the art world and sports and nostalgia. You know, Tim, I guess maybe we'll start with you. Like, what are some of the things that continue to motivate you? I mean, you've made a lot of these. It's been now, you know, quite a long time that you've been doing this. What's the stuff that keeps motivating you when you sit down to like cut up these cards?
Just knowing that someone is actually wanting something that I'm taking straight from scratch, straight from a 5,000 count box of cards that is getting shoved into a closet, and I'm manipulating it with my hands and turning something that really no one cares about, no one really wants, with that junk era stuff, and they're actually like seeking it out and wanting it on their walls. And it's not just fascinating; it's very humbling to know that people are, you know, want that, and that's awesome motivation right there for me.
Right.
Mhm.
Right, absolutely. Jimmy, anything you want to share about what you're trying to do at Beauty of a Game, like where people can find what you're up to and like how you want people to engage with
Yeah,
the community?
I'm Beauty of a Game on most platforms. Despite my daughter's pressure, I have not started on TikTok yet. But most other social platforms, you can find me at Beauty of a Game, on Substack as well. And really, it's just, you know, reach out. Let me know what you're seeing. I try to kind of, you know, keep an eye out and find new artists. But man, it's hard work trying to keep up with everybody. So, you know, if there's somebody that's flown under my radar, reach out to me. Or if you know an artist that I should spotlight, reach out to me. If there's an old artist that you used to see in your newspaper back in the 50s or 60s, let me know. I love researching this stuff as much as, you know, talking about it. So
Sure.
reach out with anything that you want to be a part of. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jim and Tim, thank you both for being here, for sharing your time.
Thank you both.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
fantastic. Guys, until next Sunday night, thanks for joining in. If you enjoyed this live stream, give it a thumbs up. Make sure that you find Jimmy and Beauty of a Game on all the social media platforms, as well as Tim Carroll, and his website as well is timcarroll.com, I think, right?
Tim Carroll Art.
timcarrollart.com. So Jimmy and Tim, thank you both.
Thank you.
And until next Sunday night, guys, the bar is closed. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.